I want to give you a global glimpse of what has been happening with the CMS family around the world over the last week. I was praying with a mission partner, Malcolm Pritchard from northern Uganda, and he shared these verses from Romans 12. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. And this seems to sum up my week with CMS as people rethink how to do mission in a COVID pandemic world. Asia CMS have decided to dip into their reserves. They've launched an appeal that Malaysian Christians are giving to serve the poorest people that have been affected across Asia through their local partner networks. One local partner in India, in a place highly resistant to the gospel, is going and identifying the poorest people, often migrant workers or their families, and trying to give aid and support and food to them. In CMS Africa, they've had to rethink, instead of running training programs, what they're doing is using their local networks, their local partners in over 7 countries to serve the poor. They're developing this notion of relational relief, where they can get aid and support to people quickly and flexibly. Bisoki in DR Congo has been looking after 400 people in the Peace Centre. They're also facing war, and this week he received the sad news of a lifelong colleague who was murdered by a warring group. When I heard that, I just burst into tears and just wondered, how on earth could he keep going? And yet he seems to epitomise joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. In Latin America, Alison and Chris Hawksby in Paraguay were telling me this week how they've lobbied the government and even mobilised the press to try and ensure that COVID-19 doesn't enter into the indigenous communities in the Paraguayan Chaco. Bishop Nick Drayson was saying the same in northern Argentina, how he's been reinforcing the government's message to try and prevent COVID-19 getting into those communities, and in trying to encourage the peoples of the Chaco to see this as a real threat and to take responsibility. In fact, a witchy politician contacted Bishop Nick and said, "Thank you so much for what you're doing to try and make this possible. You're doing a great job." And that was really encouraging to hear. Within Europe and UK, I just want to share you one story. Chris and Anna Hembry are running a community garden. And in that community garden, there is a wooden cross. And people from the local area are putting up their prayers, their aspirations, their fears, their requests on that cross. I think there can be no greater symbol of death and affliction and hope, but that through the life and death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. We've got a hope to share, and I want to thank you for your prayers for us. I also have received prayers from around the world for my wife, Helen, and I've been utterly joyful that she has started to recover from COVID-19, though very weak. And I just think as we blend our prayers, both locally and globally, as we remember the church around the world, so God will be at work in many new ways. So I want to thank you for your support. So let me finish with the verses I started this message with, from Romans 12. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. May God bless you this week and keep you safe. May you know his promise of his presence with you day by day, night by night. Amen.